Oh, you guys watched that game yesterday.
Wait, there was a football game in February? Since when is that a thing?
Wasn't a Bills game.
Well, that explains a lot.
A lot of times the Pro Bowl used to be in February, and that was always the game that I focused on.
Yeah. I remember watching that year that Sean Taylor removed Brian Moorman's soul from his body.
That was pretty neat.
But yesterday we watched Malcolm Jenkins remove, I forgot his name already.
Brandon Cooks.
Brandon Cooks.
Soul from his body.
The late Brandon Cooks.
Serious question. If Brandon Cooks had died, do you think they would have told us during or after the game?
After. You don't want to wreck the moment. It would have been like Ryan Shazier, where Ryan Shazier has been in traction for 3 months, but we just keep hearing he's progressing. So we don't want to damper the mood. And a perfect spot to not dampen the mood would be at the Super Bowl. We're all just there having our liberated Dorito parties and
Drinking our Tide Pods.
Losing our minds because there's 27 seconds of dead air. What else happened at the Super Bowl? I think that was about it.
There was dead air?
Yeah, there was that one spot they were supposed to go to commercial like late in the second quarter, and they went to a black screen and nothing came on. Then they just kind of awkwardly went back to the game and did not acknowledge it.
You
How
know,
did I miss that?
someone got fired
Yeah.
big time. Someone lost their head.
That's millions upon millions of dollars. Like if that happens
$5
on like a
million.
Sunday afternoon game, like, oh, okay, it's first day of the Switch, eh? You don't get that freebie, and the Super Bowl companies are paying millions upon millions upon millions.
I
to
watched
have
the
that spot.
entire game. I don't know how I missed that. I'm
Well,
bummed.
yeah, Panthers, Chargers, no big deal. However, Super Bowl 52.
Somebody probably paid about $5 million for that spot that didn't air.
That's a conservative estimate, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't me, just to be clear.
And I heard it was for the stock market. But seriously, folks, let's talk about the actual football game. Greatest Super Bowl ever? It's in the discussion.
One of my faves. I think it's my favorite ever
Purely
since.
entertaining. The
Sure.
most
Very
yards
entertaining.
in a game ever in the NFL.
Yes,
ever.
ever.
Not playoffs, not Super Bowl, no qualifiers. Just
I guess I didn't realize
ever.
it when it was happening, but they got to that point like late in the third quarter, like Brady's over 400 yards. I'm like,
one
he's
punt.
losing, and there's 5 minutes left in the third quarter. He
One
has
punt.
400 yards.
2 turnovers, one punt. Sounds
And one
like
of those
sounds
turnovers
like a
was,
winning film to
was
me.
an arm punt, basically, just a big downfield throw that was deflected.
Two,
Very clean game.
2 fourth down conversions.
Right. Ballsy first down conversion. I mean, so the Eagles were clearly underdogs. I'm still not sure if the Eagles are the better team. I don't think the Eagles are the better team. I think the Patriots are still the better team.
Yeah, if they played 10 times, how many times did the Eagles
Patriots win 7 or 8.
win?
Yeah.
But I think we may have seen, at least in terms of offense, the perfect game to beat the Patriots, and Nick Foles executed. Nick Foles went from barely being able to stay on the field. They get shut out in their, in somewhat of a meaningless game at the end against Dallas, but in a game that they were obviously trying to tune up and get Nick Foles going. He struggled the week before in Oakland. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he put together 3 magnificent performances, each one progressing on the other one, culminating in, it was a no-brainer for winning Super Bowl MVP. It was going to be the winning quarterback because in terms of 2 dueling quarterbacks in one Super Bowl, the only other one that I could come up with right off the top of my head, I thought about Tom Brady, Jake Delhomme in Super Bowl 38. I thought about Ben Roethlisberger and Kurt Warner in Super Bowl 43. In terms of getting both of them on the same page, though, I think that was right up there in terms of just awesome performance.
The Eagles had the mindset that they were swinging for the fences from the get-go.
They had to.
And if Jacksonville finds themselves in that spot, if Jacksonville is in the fourth quarter right there, Doug Marrone loses that football game. Because the only way the Eagles won that game was by aggressively taking their chances every time they could. It was going for it on that 4th and 1 at the end of the second quarter on a trick play. It was going for it on a 4th and 1 at their own 45 with a pretty good amount of time left in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Situations where other teams would have punted, trusted their defenses, especially a team like Philadelphia that's more known for their defense, and a backup quarterback in Peterson just threw caution to the wind. He was quoted as saying yesterday that coaching aggressively is the way you win a Super Bowl. Coaching conservatively just gets you 8-8.
Yeah.
And
No.
that mindset is why they won the game.
Doug Peterson was a weird hire from the get-go. People were not sure how that was going to work out. But ultimately, he was this awkward guy, and then he was wildly successful. People didn't know. He didn't call plays in Kansas City. So he was a journeyman quarterback. He wasn't even the primary play caller. That was Andy Reid. Nobody really knew what they were getting. And then it looked like last year, after the Giants made the playoffs with Ben McAdoo, that the Giants had made the better hire all of a sudden out of, anonymous offensive coordinators. And then, hey man, Doug Peterson took a backup quarterback after losing the league MVP in, game 13 of the regular season, led them to the playoffs. They were underdogs in all 3 games. 2 of them played on their own field. It was, as far as a narrative fitting a city, I don't care if you like Philadelphia or not, and there's a lot of feelings about Philadelphia around the country. No narrative could possibly match the team better than an underdog from Philadelphia swinging for the fences and landing the last knockout blow.
They didn't only. Sorry, go ahead.
Were you watching the game? It was primetime when Jason Peters got knocked out for the year.
Yep.
And you watch something like that happen, and there's no recovering from that. No matter who you put
Starting
out there
left tackle.
that's just not. And then Sproles went down for the year too. It's not. I mean, Wentz is obviously the big one, but they overcame a ton of hurdles. Your starting left tackle is no joke, and Darren Sproles has been a baller in this league for a long time.
Yeah. Whether Ronald Darby was 1 or 1A, he was out for more than half the season to start.
Must have been a linebacker.
A lot of stuff. I mean, they overcame a lot. And
I will follow Doug Peterson into a blazing wildfire after that game.
That is his national coming out party in terms of, I don't know if he's an elite coach or not, because we've only seen it for 2 years, but if we're going to be heaping all this praise on guys like Sean McVay, Doug Peterson called a hell of a game yesterday.
It's hard not to heap some praise onto Peterson and Howie Roseman, the GM. Just remember how long are we removed from them trading LaShawn McCoy to Buffalo for Kiko Alonso? The Chip Kelly reign of terror that really started to reshape this team into something that they could not find long-term success with. And it hasn't been that long since Chip Kelly's been out of that system, and they have completely overhauled everything.
2 years.
And turned around in 2 years.
Yeah.
They went from a team that had no direction to a team that was working with one purpose and won a Super Bowl.
I think somebody said it was like 130 transactions the GM did in the offseason, players coming and going to get this team where it is.
Howie Roseman is a survivor because as great as this team has been put together, and basically every transaction was a masterstroke in some way or another. He got pieces that he needed. He shipped pieces out that he didn't. And he cleaned up a toxic mess that was left by Chip Kelly at the end of the 2015 season. But this is also the same brain trust that was in place for the dream team, and was it 2010 that was a miserable failure with like Nnamdi Asomugha and Vince Young, and there were all these different superstars that came in, and that team crashed and burned mightily. And I think if it wasn't Andy Reid's final season in Philadelphia, it was the second to the last one.
You talked about long-term success. I heard today that 21 of the 22 starters from yesterday's game are locked up through 2020.
Yeah,
that's absurd.
They're in great shape.
That's absurd.
Philadelphia, and football is such a weird sport. In what's your one possession games? 1 year you could be 7-1, the next year you could be 1-7. But in terms of having a solid core, you're going to bring back the 13-game MVP. To play quarterback. You have a Super Bowl MVP as his backup who knows the system now. You have guys like Alshon Jeffrey locked in. You have a whole just slew of running backs that can do a whole bunch of different things. They can catch passes. They can just run it down your throat for 4 or 5 yards up the middle. They have such a diversity of attack at this point. And maybe not the best tight end in terms of catching passes. He's probably third or fourth at this point. It's probably Gronkowski and Kelsey, and then I probably would take Ertz third at this point.
That catch on 4th and 1 where he's getting drilled in the rib cage and has to reach out just to get that little half a yard, that's a grit play.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you want in your reliable pass-catching tight end.
And yeah, it's admirable what they've done, and there's been quite a few Buffalo-Philadelphia transactions over the years recently. It just feels like, congratulations, Philadelphia. I don't really know what else to say. It was like the perfect offensive football game. Defense sucked, but who cares? That was like a Big 12 game.
But they say you're best when you have nothing to lose, and Philadelphia had nothing to lose that game. They were the underdogs. They were seen as the underdogs through the playoffs. They weren't supposed to be there, so you know what? Just go out and do your thing, and that's when you're most dangerous.
How about the Malcolm Butler story?
Oh man,
And that could have single-handedly lost in the game. He divided locker room pregame.
98% of the snaps.
How many plays did Eric Rowe? He missed like 2 or 3 pretty big upfield tackles. Eric Rowe missed.
So what do we think happened? Because we're not going to
rumor
ever
is
find out.
Weed and pass curfew. That's what the rumor is.
Got to be smarter, I guess.
You know,
I don't care what you think about weed or curfews, but
Right.
if you're a patriot and it's the Patriot way, you just got to be smarter than that.
If it was weed or curfews, wouldn't they have just like healthy scratched him though, and that played him on special teams? The whole thing seems weird. Even for Belichick, this seems weird.
Yeah.
Like Belichick's never been one to shy from. We sent him home because he broke team rule X, or he's not playing because of
But Rowe
Y.
was missing plays.
Oh yeah, no.
So why wouldn't you plug him in?
That's the $1 million question. Like, I think it's something different. Like, if he broke a team rule, I don't think Belichick plays him at all. Belichick sits him and brings someone else in. He was like handicapping himself in the secondary. A secondary that's getting carved up left and right, and it's not because of entirely personnel. Foles was dropping some absolute dimes in these plays too, and it wasn't just Rowe. It was the fact that Rowe was usually the nickelback. So you move Rowe to the outside, and 2 very inexperienced guys are playing the slot. Those guys are trying to deal with Aguilar and Ertz and Clement out of the backfield, and those guys were getting killed even more than Rowe was.
I think maybe if it's a regular game, regular playoff game, regular season game, he doesn't play at all. But maybe it's Belichick throwing a dog a bone because it's a big game. Here, I'll give you the special teams.
We saw him crying on the sidelines during the national anthem, and nobody's moved that much by Pink, so it was really confusing.
No Sean Marino was pretty teared up the one time.
That's right. Okay, one time, and then all of a sudden he's just not playing. He's got his helmet on the entire time. You never actually saw he never had his helmet off his head. He was ready to go at a moment's notice.
Every series he was standing up, helmet on, like, Coach, I'm ready whenever. I was like, he's doing that. Well, any player would against bench. Like, he's gonna stand up and like put that show on.
Yeah, the hero of Super Bowl 49. He's an unrestricted free agent. I don't think there's any reason to think that he's coming back, and he won't be welcomed, and I don't think he has any intentions of staying. So maybe someone that certainly seemed like they would be re-signed previously now just will be out there. Very intriguing.
You know who else comes out of this smelling pretty good? The Dolphins. They sure showed Jay Ajayi. They traded him for like a 5th round pick.
That's what you get for being a locker room cancer.
Right, exactly. Your ankle is
Shove that
100%,
ring.
and then he's out there. I mean, their running backs impressed me more than their receivers yesterday.
So how good do you think LeGarrette Blount feels?
Right.
Yeah.
Chris
after
Long,
yesterday.
too. Both.
Yeah.
Both of them.
Second and third players ever to play on the team prior year in the Super Bowl and then play against that same team in the Super Bowl the next season.
There has to be a shorter way to say that.
I couldn't get through it, but I tried. I tried really, really hard.
Let's check Elias
just,
on that one.
Dog masks.
I mean, it had to be.
The reverse Marion Hossa.
I think the game Clement played for third string running back. I think if Foles didn't win MVP, I think Clement made a case to have that because he made some.
Clement
plays.
made some great catches with Wentz too. I think it was the same game that Wentz went down. Clement went out on a wheel route to the right and had to lay out. He's a great pass catcher, and I don't know how you handle the Eagles. You have teams that have running back by committee, not 3 guys like that. I mean, Blount and Ajayi both can run that ball up the middle very well, and Clement's an amazing pass catcher. You might have a situation like New Orleans where you have Ingram who can run the ball well, Kamara who's a good receiver. They have 3 guys who all, like I said, I think their running backs impressed me more than their receivers yesterday. You had Jeffrey botch that one throw that turned into the pick. You had Aguilar drop the one right in his hands on the sideline. The next play he made up for it. Aguilar made a great play the next play, but I felt like their running backs played a perfect game.
What a nice thing to have. I mean, Shady winces in pain, and you're like, team's over.
Yep.
That's it.
Up.
Twitter breaks.
Yeah, just in case you're wondering, Clement was undrafted out of Wisconsin. Now, you know who he was playing in front of at Wisconsin? James White and Melvin Gordon.
Wow.
So you know what you should do? Just hire any Wisconsin running back that you possibly can. I mean, they have a
must feed
pretty
them
good
something.
pedigree there.
Yeah.
It's not like this is just this, flash in the pan. I mean, he's, behind 2 NFLers that are excellent at what they do as well.
It's like saying that Clinton Portis didn't play a snap his senior year of at Miami because he was behind Gore and Willis McGahee.
Yeah, I mean, right. And Edgerrin James was part of that rotation at one point, too. I mean, that's what we're talking about. They just, the unbelievable talent that they develop there consistently at Wisconsin. But yeah, no, Clement was an absolute game changer, unknown to almost everybody, especially the casual fan. They're not looking at depth charts like that, but they all do something different. Ajayi is shifty, Blount's more of your pounded in the middle type of guy, and then Clement is the pass catcher. And that kind of diversified attack where any of those guys could be ones on any other, on a variety of different teams, it's a luxury that, they were able to utilize. And we knew that the Patriots weren't good at rushing defense. That was their biggest weakness of their entire team, and they were exposed.
Did you see some of the formations they had too? They did have Aguilar in the backfield with like Clement and Ajayi.
Lots of creativity.
Then I love when they would come to the line and it would look like a wishbone or jumbo formation, and then Foles would make a signal and it's all of a sudden 4 wide. Or the one play inside the 5, it might have even been a 2-point conversion. They
I think it was that one 2-point conversion. They had
4
they had the
receivers
diamond
out
up
to the right, and they went on a fade to the left to was it Jeffrey or Ertz. But I love that. I love that kind of play calling. I love when you're at the goal line spreading it out instead of trying to run a 300-pound man through 7 other 300-pound men.
But enough about Mike Tolbert.
He's a bowling ball, though.
Yes.
I was just impressed overall with the formations. It felt fresh. It felt like I was watching a fresh football game. And for it to be in Super Bowl, in the Super Bowl feels even better. And you have to wonder, there's all this talk about Peterson having the team of analytics guys. And did you hear the process? He's told green light if it's to go for it, yellow if it's his decision, or red means kick it. Mm-hmm. So when they're looking at 4th and 1 from their own 45, we'll never know if the analytics team told him green or yellow. But they obviously told him that there's the numbers are in your favor here, and I love that. I'm not 100% an analytics guy, but in the Super Bowl against the Patriots, watching that unfold, fired up about something like that.
Yeah, they won that game in spots like that where other teams lost that game.
Yeah.
Because if they just punt the ball back on that play to Brady, they don't ever get that lead back. That game's over. Brady marches right down the field.
And doesn't it always feel like the Patriots get the ball at the end of the half, score, and then get the ball at the beginning of the third quarter and score? Just those sort of little things that always seem to be patterns in Patriots games. They prevented that.
It's a play Madden in real life.
Yeah, no, but
you play Madden, you play line, you always pick kick. You get the ball back at half.
Yeah, it was like 14 guaranteed points, or at least And I mean, Brady was absolutely ridiculous in the second half. That was as impressive, as locked in of a performance. Gronkowski was incredible. Just after a lackluster first half, those two were the Hall of Famers that they are.
The first drive, I think, was 6 throws to Gronk. Right? The
yeah,
first one was incomplete, and then he went back to him 5 more times.
Fed him. Just keep going, man. And why not? And yeah, the end result was super entertaining game. 41-33, just a complete shootout. And it is ironic that the game more or less turns on a defensive play made the strip sack of Brady, although certainly they had an opportunity at the end with the Hail Mary falling. Was there pass interference? Yeah, there was pass interference. There's pass interference on every single Hail Mary in the history of football. So
I mean, you can't get away from it in that situation.
Right.
Not being Mr., I'll go Eagles, but every guy that was going up was looking for the ball. They all had a
I do
hand up.
agree.
It wasn't egregious, in my opinion.
And of course, there were going to be 4 guys around Gronkowski. I mean, that was obvious.
I have a question.
Destroyed you in the second
half. A real
half.
question for you guys. First off, I've heard some people in Buffalo say they had no rooting interest. I had a rooting interest because I did not want the Patriots to win. Mm-hmm. And it came to a head. It culminated when Brady fumbled. Because that felt like, it all felt all too familiar until that point. And I'm curious what you guys, how did you guys react when you saw that? Because I fell off the couch. I'm not kidding you. I was looking down at my phone. I'm checking FanDuel because I'm, heavily invested. And I look up and I see the ball on the turf and I see the Eagles pick it up. And literally, I knelt on the floor and pounded the carpet with my fists, out of just exuberation because it felt like Goliath was slayed. I don't know how you guys reacted, if you felt you had a rooting interest yesterday, but I sure did.
Very similar boat to you. I was pretty actively cheering for the Eagles in that game. And when they got the ball, the Patriots got the ball back in the situation after the Eagles missed the 2-point conversion. I'm like, it'd be great if for once in his life Tom Brady makes a mistake. You feel in those situations, you get the ball back. We've seen it's like a movie you've seen before. You've seen this exact episode of the TV show. You know what's going to happen when Tom Brady gets the football in a situation like that, and it just didn't happen. And the fact that it didn't happen made that even better. That moment all the sweeter.
Yeah, my thing was just making sure that there were no flags, because that's my first thing, and then I'm thinking, all right, because it was initially obvious on replay that his arm was not going forward, but when it comes to the Patriots, you just have to expect it's the same thing on the Ertz touchdown, where I know everybody was saying, well, that's obviously a catch. That's obviously a catch. Well, Jesse James seemed to obviously have a catch in the Pittsburgh game, and they called that one back too. And we've seen it 3 different times this season that the Patriots benefited from very controversial touchdown calls.
The NFL's about to turn 100 years old, and they still can't define a catch.
I think we're going to finally just say whatevs this offseason.
Did you hear Drew Bledsoe's
3 steps,
theory?
though.
Yeah, I know.
3 steps. Drew Bledsoe said get 3 6th graders in New York, or 6-year-olds, and ask the 6-year-olds, was that a catch or not? Because that's going to be more accurate than any rule. If 3 6-year-olds can look at it and go, yeah, that's a catch, or no, it's not, you're probably better off than anything we have right now.
All that being said, I thought the rulings yesterday on catches were pretty much in line with what I would want them to be.
I agree with the calls.
Other than Collins were spending 10 minutes telling us why he thought it wasn't a catch for some reason.
They had a weird game.
For
How
some reason.
about Collinsworth after that first review? Like, he's like, after that, he was like, when all Patriots. It's like he was calling the game.
Like, I thought the Clement catch was close. But again, if they can't clearly see, which I don't think you could, they should have allowed it to stand at the call on the field. I can easily see where if you were reviewing that play for the first time, that you could say, well, it looks like it bobbled a little bit there. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But if you're not sure, that's what you're supposed to do.
Collinsworth, no, I think you've been spending a little bit too much time on Bill's Facebook chats to say that he was going pro-Patriots.
It seemed like the last 10 minutes of the game, he was like, he was really in the Patriots' wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Like,
He was all about, like, here comes Tom Brady, the master, back at work.
it was like the last 10, 15 minutes.
I mean, I understand that at the same time. Like, what were you thinking? That the game was over, or that Tom Brady has if he's breathing, he has a shot?
I thought Collinsworth called he's calling a great game, and then all of a sudden a switch
See,
flipped.
He was beside himself.
I didn't think he had a good game. Al Michaels is losing it. He talked about Patricia coaching the Pistons. He talked about the Patriots taking the lead when it was a tie game at 32-all. Those two, who were the gold standard for a long time, have completely fallen off by me. I think CBS now has the 2 best announced teams in not only Jim Nantz and Tony Romo, who I can't wait to hear call his first Super Bowl next season when CBS gets it. But I like Ian Eagle and Dan Fouts because they have a slight sense of humor about themselves and don't take it quite as seriously. I think they're way better than Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, and Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth at this point.
They got to bring back Doug Johnson.
Gus Johnson?
Gus Johnson, yeah. I got my names all fucked up.
Gus had to call the Ohio State-Illinois game on FS1 yesterday.
Gus Johnson calling that game yesterday would have been clutch.
Vinny Mac better be calling up Gus Johnson for the XFL.
Gus became, Gus was buried on the CBS depth chart. That's why we saw him so many times in Buffalo, because it was him and Tasker were the 5th string team.
This Buffalo-Jacksonville game,
yeah.
Gus is there.
Yeah, if it's a road game, Tasker says, I'll take it. He didn't have any real path of, I think, moving up, so he took a chance. And it's, Fox, I don't even know if anybody cares about this, but Fox is certainly up their college offerings recently with contracts. They have a lot of Big Ten now, and they have Pac-12 and Big 12 as well in the college football ranks. But not hearing Gus Johnson during March Madness and not hearing him even on insignificant NFL games, it kind of is a bummer. As exciting as the Pac-12 championship game could be, he's not there just screaming Stokely for 15 seconds as he tiptoes on the goal line in a meaningless Broncos-Bengals game.
The Mike Thomas Hail Mary.
Yeah.
The stuff like that.
Yeah.
Those are my fondest early football memories. Not early, but early 21st century football memories.
I think he had a chance to be the voice of our generation, and it just, for one reason or another, just didn't work out for him. But not a good showing by Collinsworth and Michaels. Looking very much forward to Nantz and Romo next season calling Super Bowl 53.
Question for you guys, having watched the game yesterday and how it played out. The Eagles have traded up, I think a lot of us consider successfully, sold the farm for a top 5 draft pick quarterback in Carson Wentz that worked pretty well. They have also had a guy in Nick Foles who was discarded by them and then back by Kansas City, back to them, and they won a Super Bowl with him. How does that impact your view on what the Bills should do with a quarterback in the offseason? Does it solidify your position that they should trade up for a quarterback? Or does yesterday prove that in the NFL these days, you can win with whoever you get if you correctly use your other assets to surround them with necessary talent?
I think the Bills are going to do what every other team does that doesn't succeed with. They draft the quarterback high. They don't have a line in front of it to protect him. He's going to run for his life the entire season. You got to build a line, then get your guy. The Bills don't have a line anymore. Their pass protection is not good. Tyrod Taylor made it look much better than it was. He bought him so much time, but I think the Bills should draft offensive line, depth, and maybe get a guy in later rounds, and then maybe see if we trade for somebody. I don't know. I want to see. I hope they don't trade up. I don't want to sell the house to get somebody to see him run for their life all season long for the next 3-4 years.
I still stand by the idea of moving up is okay with me if they don't mortgage next year. Like, you have so much currency this year. If you're able to move up, I don't even mean, obviously, if you're moving up like top 3, it's probably next year's first as well.
Yeah.
But if they move up into, like 10 or something, if there's still a guy there and they package their first 3 picks, that I don't mind because you haven't mortgaged. I was talking to my friend about who they could have drafted whomever other than Sammy, but then who did they miss out on the following year by not having the first that they would have had? And the names are just, you just want to put your head through a wall because, it didn't work out. If it would have worked out, sure. But so my thought is I just don't want to mortgage the future. So whether that's signing a free agent, trading for somebody, or moving up, I hope with the amount of currency they have in this year's draft that's the extent of what they spend.
I think it's all about the coaching staff and what they can do with what they're given.
Yeah,
and
Brian
I think
Dable's
you just
key
saw
here.
that with Nick Foles was not Carson Wentz in terms of he did run similar systems in that he did run RPOs in college at Arizona, but not to the extent that it was as successful as Carson Wentz was. I mean, Carson Wentz, 6 of his last 7 seasons in college or the pros have ended in him winning a championship. I mean, the guy is very successful, and he was hurt for 2 of those championships, but he also won. North Dakota State won 5 consecutive FCS championships. I mean, just an unbelievable run. To me, it is the coaching, and as far as there are you're not going to ever win a championship with Brian Hoyer as your starting quarterback, right? But if you're able to play to the quarterback's strengths and just instead of insisting that you have all the answers with what you're providing, if you're willing to adjust to the talent that's being presented to you, I think you can certainly extend seasons. And I think that there's a mentality now that maybe this kind of championship will change things a little bit, and maybe people will be a little bit more understanding that you have to have a match with both coaching style and players executing that, and not just trying to fit square pegs into round holes like so many times we've seen NFL coaches do.
Having a quarterback that can drop a dime, though. I mean, Foles had
Foles,
5 throws yesterday.
Foles' accuracy
that
was
were
ridiculous.
just
I think there's certainly
dots.
a baseline of talent you have to have. Like, I don't think you could trot Tom Savage out right now in the Eagles and they could win a Super Bowl. I don't think we're not talking about that.
Yeah.
Is the difference between Mason Rudolph and Sam Darnold to the point that it's worth giving up 2 other starters to have Sam Darnold?
No, absolutely not. But also, let's just make fun of Jeff Fisher real quick. Because he cut the Super Bowl MVP, he got nothing out of the 2 starting quarterback, or he got nothing out of the number 1 pick, and he had a starting quarterback in the NFC Championship game discarded as well. Jeff Fisher sucks, man. Let's just say that. It's unbelievable that his name was even surfacing as being a head coach.
In a universe where Jeff Fisher goes into something other than coaching, Vince Young is in the NFL Hall of Fame.
And that's what I'm talking about, right? Like, I don't think Jeff Fisher could understand who was he most successful with? Kerry Collins. The Titans' best season outside the Super Bowl was that one random year that they went 13-3 with Kerry Collins as the quarterback, because I think that was the type of more conservative play. Like, they couldn't figure out what to do with Vince Young. Maybe Vince Young would have been a complete disaster under other coaches too. We'll never know. But there's all these things that you can, you reevaluate and just think, well, what could have been with these talents that certainly seem to have ability that conservative coaching or, one style of coaching over another just could never answer, and we'll never know. There's lots of hypotheticals now. And this Super Bowl just serves as a bigger reminder of that to me.
Interesting tidbit also as we head into the CBS Super Bowl next year. The Patriots have never played a Super Bowl that's been covered by Jim Nantz and CBS. They've only ever played those Super Bowls on Fox or NBC. Jim Nantz has never called the Patriots in the Super Bowl. If you want a good omen for your 2018 Bills season, the Jim Nantz, Tony Romo mojo was not on the side of the evil empire.
And also, Alabama and New England have never won championships in the same season.
It's true.
Unbelievable.
So we really hope Alabama wins another one next year, I guess.
Roll damn Tide.
Roll damn Tide. They got that sophomore quarter, like
Yeah.
in front of Tagovailoa.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. But yeah, man, it's going to be a very interesting offseason for the Bills, obviously. Just the NFL in general. Very intrigued with some of this player movement, what's going to happen. And the Bills opened up with 1,000-to-1 odds to win the Super Bowl. One of 5 teams. I believe it was the Jets, the Bengals, the Browns, the Bills, and there's one other one that I'm forgetting. So
Really should be the Buccaneers.
highest odds on the board. Buffalo tied for.
It seems a little harsh.
I thought it was a little harsh myself.
They're trying to bait the Buffalo fans into taking that money.
So we'll see what comes of it. I have my doubts on that, but you never know. So yeah, we'll see what happens with. I don't think the Bills are going to be one of the 5 worst teams, but we do know that a combination of schedule and instability in the quarterbacking position could cause some
You
issues.
see what they got to do quarterback. They're not going to pay Tyrod $18 million next year. That's for sure.
No, we know that. Nor should they commit that much to somebody that they're not willing to, to buy into.
What do you think the Eagles do with Foles? And he
Sell
makes
high.
Huh?
Keep him.
Sell high.
I keep him.
Why? What if Wentz gets hurt again? I mean, Wentz makes 7.5 next year. Foles makes just a bit less than that.
I, reading between the tea leaves, kind of think that Foles is the type of guy that doesn't have much of an ego and may actually be willing to take
And
that
Seems
position.
super humble.
And-
Well, I think he would be willing to do it.
Yeah.
And for 2 quarterbacks, that's not cap strapping. I mean, one superstar quarterback would cost more
No.
than both of them combined.
Right, and you can do it because you have Carson Wentz as your starting quarterback. So, but with that said, we will take a break, and we will be back with more. You're listening to the 716 Sports Podcast. And welcome back, 716 Sports Podcast. Thanks for joining us on our first show of February. What a month.
It's a great month.
Super Bowl month.
Shorter month.
I remember when the Super Bowl was in January.
Yeah.
Now it's in February.
I remember a few of them on my birthday.
Dude, like, how does this even work? How do calendars work?
Have we convened since Eric Wood retired?
No.
No, we have not. That was sad.
Eric Wood retired, guys.
Yeah.
But did he officially
Has he
retire?
officially retired yet, actually?
No, because money.
The whole to do with bonuses and getting mad that people leaked out that he wanted to retire and giving 2-minute press conferences. I feel like that's going to be really awkward for the next little bit.
Yeah. That was rough. That was, yeah, that was a bad one. They never actually said the word retired. He tersely read a 2-minute statement. And
At the being an hour late.
they flew
Yes.
Fitzmagic in for no apparent reason.
Fitzy just wanted to be here.
Well, I guess
Yeah.
there was a big gathering after. And he said later on tonight's going to be worth it. Well worth it, he said. So.
Oh, that's good. Brandon Beane was in damage control talking to the media after that, which was kind of awkward because I don't know what they were expecting, but obviously the tenor changed sometime between Friday and Monday of the announcement and then the actual presser. Felt extremely Buffalo to have something like that happen. Why? I don't really know. That they just forgot to figure out all these details. But what we do know is that Eric Wood, his playing career is done, unfortunately. But lucky for us, we have someone that we can actually speak to about this. His name is Kyle Trimble. He's part of the Grandstand Sports Network family. He is our new injury expert that will be joining us not only here but on all the Grandstand Sports Network shows. So I think you'll be getting pretty used to his voice throughout the entire network here shortly.
God knows there's a lot of Buffalo sports injuries.
There are injuries all around the country though as well, just like Grandstand Sports Network delivers. But right now we're going to go to our interview with Kyle, and he's going to talk to us about the Eric Wood injury. And welcome back, 716 Sports Podcast. We're here with Kyle Trimble. He is a doctor of physical therapy and a noted Bills fan and part of the Grandstand Sports Network. He is the injury expert. Kyle, thanks for joining us tonight on the pod.
Thank you for having me.
First of all, congratulations on the expecting any day now. Father for the first time, correct?
Yes. We're waited with bated breath and just any day now. And we're closing on a house tomorrow, so it's been a very busy time in our lives with my wife and I.
Yeah, for sure. Well, but other than that, it's just been a normal 2018 for you so far?
Pretty much, yeah.
Well, you are a Bills fan, graduate of DUville and local to the area. And so before we talk about the medical impact of the Eric Wood injury, let's first just hit up your thoughts as a fan of the Buffalo Bills and what Eric Wood meant to you, and especially when we got the news last week about him not being medically cleared.
Well, with Eric Wood, who he was, as he was on the team more and more, year by year, it just seemed like he had more of a presence, and he was one of those rocks. You had Kyle Williams there, you had Eric Wood, Fred Jackson when he was here. You just had those guys that were, hey, this is the epitome of a Buffalo Bill, and Eric Wood just developed into that, after being here for a few years. So knowing he was one of those good guys, if you will, that he was here good or bad and willing to fight, he was what a Buffalo Bill should be. I mean, that's why he's going to be up on the Wall of Fame there in a few years when they get around to it. But he's what a Buffalo Bill is. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think all of us in this room tonight agree with you on that. But we do have to talk about kind of the actual medical background on this injury. And neck injuries are always kind of a scary thing, but especially it seems like for someone who is involved in so many of those, we call them minor collisions, but really they say like they're low-grade car crashes that these offensive and defensive linemen engage in dozens of times per game. Is this, in your mind, something that was a cumulative effect, or do you think that there was maybe one big event that sort of triggered everything?
A little bit of both here. So when we got the news, we heard from that one Twitter handle that, there was an offensive player that had sustained a career-ending injury. I was going through my mind thinking, who the heck could it be? And then when it came out that it was Eric Wood, it was shocking. And the two things I want to keep in mind here was that he said that it was wear and tear, but it was also a complex medical situation. So I think the wear and tear over the years of those constant smaller collisions, being on the offensive line, added to this. And then he revealed during his press conference and later on that he had stingers in weeks 5 and 6, which kind of accelerated this whole process. So it was a little bit of both. So
what exactly are we talking about in a medical sense? What is a stinger? And it seems like stingers now have a little bit more people are much more cautious when people receive stingers these days. I've seen it in not only in football, but in professional wrestling. We've heard about wrestlers having stingers, and all of a sudden their careers are over with that. What exactly is a stinger, medically speaking?
It's basically just a direct blow or hard hit to the shoulder or the neck region that in a sense shocks that nerve. So give you a little anatomy breakdown. You have your vertebrae, you have your cervical discs in between those vertebrae, and then in between the vertebrae, you have these nerves coming off, branching off the spinal cord. And those nerves branch all the way out to different parts of the body and plug into your muscles and skin and everything else there. Well, you have a series of different nerves that come off in that cervical region called the brachial plexus. They branch off down through the neck, down through the shoulder, going back to brachial plexus, comprised of C5 through T1. Don't have to worry about too much about that. But when you suffer a direct hit, that nerve can become compressed and send like an electrical volt or a shock down that particular area. And it can have that like you hit your funny bone feeling, only a lot more significant. And you usually have weakness, pain, tingling, that kind of stuff.
In your experience, is there a standard when it comes to performing a physical on someone to try and understand the nature of the injury? Because some people were speculating, and I don't want to be speculating too much, but is it possible that if Eric Wood was on a different team, that he would still be medically cleared to play, or is it now one of those things where, with the focus on neck injuries with concussions, there seems to be a lot more understanding with how severe these can be? Do you think that this would probably be something that would be the end of his career no matter where he was?
Based on location, yes. Could he get different opinions? Possibly, but we know that Dr. Cappuccino is a pretty well-respected doctor. I mean, he essentially saved Kevin Everett's life when he suffered his neck injury 10 years ago. But when you're dealing with something like that high up, usually there's going to be doctors saying, hey, it's just not worth it. So regardless of team affiliation, any doctor worth of salt would say, let's stop this.
And recognizing the injury now and trying to prevent any further damage for him on the football field, is quality of life going to be an issue for Eric Wood beyond the normal wear and tear? Is there a potentially shortened lifespan with this, or is this, by stopping his football career when he has he basically ensured that he'll be able to essentially go on about daily activity as much as a professional football player can?
He's going to be able to continue living a relatively normal life. Will he have issues down the line with pain, some paresthesia, that radiculopathy, where that nerve can be continued to be irritated and causing problems down the line? Yeah, but he's going to be able to still play with his kids. He's going to be able to still work out and participate in his charity activities. He's not going to be walking around in a neck brace or be bedbound. But if he were to have kept on playing, he would have been at risk to develop, even worse problems, where he would have had to have stabilization surgery, or he could have been in a situation where he can become paralyzed had he kept playing.
Kyle Trimble is a doctor of physical therapy in the Buffalo region, a Bills fan, and now a member of the Grandstand Sports Network. Kyle, thank you for your maiden voyage here. And unfortunately, when we talk to you, it'll probably be due to injuries, but we do appreciate you hopping on tonight, and look forward to speaking with you in the future.
I enjoy talking about this stuff. I might be a dork when it comes to it, but hey, I know it. I'm willing to share it, and thank you for your time.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thanks to Kyle for a quality interview. Very nice of Kyle.
Yeah, it was nice of him to stop by. He was expecting a kid any day, buying a house. He's a very busy man right now.
How much does that Eric Wood loss change the Bills' offseason plans? And for one, it makes that Ryan Gory signing look a lot better of a Mike Gillisley. But, like I said earlier in the show, the offensive line is not great at pass blocking, and Richie's getting older. He's really just like a pulling guard. He's a running, battering ram. Cordy Glenn is never playing football, ever. Jordan Mills is different every series. Vlad Dukas is Vlad Dukas. Miller.
He forgot to block Joey Bosa.
Where do the Bills go? You want to jet the quarterback this year, and
you have needs at basically all 5 positions on the line right now, though.
And you lost a super veteran center. That's a good guy in a film room for a quarterback.
I mean, you did know that you were going to have to replace Eric Wood eventually within the next couple years. He was getting up there. This was his 9th year in the NFL. You knew he was going to have to be replaced. You know Incognito is going to have to be replaced. Replacing Woods, his timeline just got pushed up, but you have Groy, but you still need a backup center.
Yeah, I'm fine with Groy starting, but you're right. The offensive line is a major question mark for this team right now, and I don't know. I think you have to just kind of fill in the gaps with as many of these guys in like the mid rounds as you can, and really make it a point of emphasis, which is tough because the defense needs so much help right now too.
It's crazy the number of gaps this team has to fill in. I mean, at this point, I'm thinking pursue Cousins. That might be your best option.
Unless they transition tag him and then you're trading for him again. Like that goes right back to the amount of currency they have. That's part of the reason why I lean towards free agency as far as a quarterback because they do have so many needs and they have a lot of currency, and that's one of the most attractive things to a free agent quarterback, in my opinion, is that they keep their draft currency and can do their best to fill in these gaps.
Rumor has it the Eagles really want LaShawn McCoy back. Trade LaShawn McCoy for Nick Foles and Jay Ajayi.
Perfect.
Deal
Who says
time.
no, folks? Who says no?
I'm obviously
My liver says no.
That's sincere sarcasm.
Yeah, but that was one of the moves that Howie Roseman attempted to make, and it involved Jordan Matthews. And rumor had it.
I would not mind getting one of those two players, either Foles or Ajayi. I really wouldn't mind getting either one of them.
I would be fine with trading LaShawn McCoy in the offseason because I don't think he has much tread left on the tires. And if anybody was willing to give you anything for a very, very used running back, I would totally coach with that.
He looked really good against Jaguars on one leg. I mean, I'll take LaShawn McCoy one more year.
They definitely need to start thinking about a young backup running back.
Yeah, they have no plan though there right now.
Travaris Cadet and Marcus Murphy? Is that his name?
Yes.
Sure. That
Jim
guy who was
Murphy
around for 2
is
games.
the car dealer.
Yeah, Jim Murphy
that
Buick,
sounds
Pontiac,
right.
and GMC. Yeah.
Yep.
They need to bring someone in who can start to be the change of pace back behind McCoy, who isn't built like a beach ball.
I'm just thinking how funny it would be if the Bills just had like a Jim Ball, a Jim Murphy, a West Herr. That would be crazy if they had a guy named West Herr. Just every single car dealership in the area. Just
waiting for Billy Fusillo Jr. to become
North
the new franchise
Town?
quarterback of the Bills.
What are the odds? They need to have a plan at running back because this is not going to keep working. You can keep running it back, and that's all cool and stuff, but it's not going. Mike Gillislee may be available.
Yeah, he's falling
Extremely
out of favor.
available.
He scores touchdowns.
He does. He's a touchdown machine. We'll see, but the whole thing about Roseman in that profile, talking about how he did try and actually get LaShawn McCoy back, just said how bad things got in Philadelphia and how desperate they were to try and fix everything. And good for them, they fixed it right away. But yeah, it was amusing that Jordan Matthews would have been the centerpiece of that deal coming back to the Bills.
Tried the real life reset button.
Yep.
Gotta love it.
Hey, my bad. Let's talk. And the Bills are like, nope, we're very, very pleased with how this worked out, actually. Thank you.
Howie Roseman went back to his home, put on turned CPU trades off, and got LaShawn McCoy back right away. So how great was it yesterday that Stephon Gilmore's friends and family were able to watch him lose a Super Bowl?
Oh, it's
In primetime.
big
Prime
moment
time.
for his family.
A lot of people were watching him walk off the field. Disappointed.
It was a damned if you do, damned if you didn't for a lot of Bills fans because there were a lot of people, the Eagles, that people didn't want to see win championships as well.
Who do we really dislike on the Eagles, though? Like,
I think there was-
I like Corey Graham and Ronald Darby.
I think there was some
Not too
acrimony about Darby just because of he got kind of lumped in with being a troublemaker a little bit. I'm just saying.
I know.
Saying. You can roll your eyes.
I'm not
Fine.
rolling. I'm not rolling them at you. I'm rolling
No,
them
I
at
know.
the concept.
But I'm just throwing it out there that was kind of the thing. But it's better than having the Patriots win yet another Super Bowl, I suppose.
No matter what you
Brady
think about
now
Darby,
only 5-3 in Super Bowls. Oh boy.
no matter what you think about Darby, I think Bills fans will take him over Stephon Gilmore's attitude about leaving Buffalo 10 times out
Oh
of
yeah,
10.
no, he was the preferred cornerback to win, and then eventually Tre'Davious White's going to win.
So when does Malcolm Butler sign in Buffalo?
That would be the ultimate FU move by him, wouldn't it? I don't know where he would.
Go straight Lawyer Malloy.
We'll see what happens
Yeah.
regarding
You know what,
EJ
though?
Gaines in the offseason. That might not be a bad
absolutely.
move.
I mean, with a couple notable exceptions, when Belichick's done with you, he usually has a pretty good read on your life expectancy as an NFL player. So, I don't know. Maybe Malcolm Butler, something happened. Marijuana. It's a hell of a drug. It's a gateway drug.
Mary Jane.
It's going to kill you.
Smoking the blunts.
Smoking all that marijuana. Get out of here with that. I keep mine, of
Reefer
course,
madness.
on top of my fridge so the kids can't get it. It's called good parenting. But I digress.
I don't know where to go.
How do we
from
segue out of that?
So the Beauts. Go.
Oh my god.
There you go. I did it for you. That's why I'm a professional. Go.
We're unemployed next season.
There you go.
That
Just
was a good
JK,
run. So the Beauts have won 6 games in a row, which is awesome. They are the first team this season going into the All-Star break to beat the previously 11-0 Metropolitan Riveters at home on Saturday.
Big one.
Big one. Huge crowd watching. I think that was the best game in the league this season.
Those crowds have grown more and more every game since Bagul's bought them.
Those billboards and ads of the Sabres games have. Not that I should be surprised, but it was instantaneous. I remember seeing the
ROI,
first.
baby.
I remember seeing the first one on the 190 the day before the game 2 weeks ago against Connecticut, and that game was more attended. And then last week, even against the Sabres game, they were almost full. And then Saturday, there wasn't a lot of places to fit more people there, and they might have actually sold enough tickets. There's always people standing around the concourses at Harbor Center always. And that place was loud. Justin was down at ice level doing the interviews and talking to players and everything. And I'm sure you can attest to this. It got real loud in that building when they were scoring. Fans are getting really into that third period, especially.
I think it got the loudest when they put me on the screen interviewing the players.
Yeah, that was cool. I did not expect to be. So they have that big end zone screen now at Harbor Center,
monitor,
and this for the Twitter game, they were just showing the stream of the Twitter broadcast of the game. So when me, Eric, and Justin were on camera, we were also on the jumbotron.
Oh wow,
which is a first for me.
Ego inflation.
Oh, huge. My ego almost as big.
I was wearing my best blazer too.
Your ego was almost as big as Eric Wolschlager's milk carton that he had to stand on.
I love how he embraced that.
He did. Embrace the shortness, buddy. We love you. I mean, I'm 5'7". I'm not exactly this
Me too.
fucking Goliath, but that was my favorite. That picture, man. I'm still laughing.
Well, like the other thing is like I'm usually not that I'm like super tall, but I'm usually taller than whoever's doing color with me. In the last couple of games, they were like having us like sit and do the pregame. Like when Justin and I did it, we were sitting. When Eric and I did it in Pittsburgh, we were both sitting.
Yeah.
So when it's me and Eric, and I think that Eric's probably shorter than you even.
Yeah, Eric's like 5'3".
Yeah. So it said. So that's the time we're like, yo, you guys come stand together next to this camera in front of this screen. Like, all right. Like if they shoot my face and you get like the top of Eric's hairline on the left side of it.
My favorite was I think it was last year, 2 years ago, and they had Eric interviewing Rick Sealing and Bobby J. He was between both of them, and he was on the same stool between two giants. It was hysterical.
It just reminded me of like when my son has to like wash his hands at the kitchen sink and we have to bring the stool out. That's all. It was a great moment. Yeah, it was just a moment of levity and it really made me chuckle, and that's all. And Eric knows I'm just busting his balls about it. But it's pretty funny.
Whenever needs a stool to get to the good beer in the top shelf of his fridge.
That's right. You look so handsome in his sweater. All right. Anyway, the good game though.
Yeah, it's the best game of the season.
Huge for the Beauts.
As soon as the NWHL puts it up on YouTube, go watch it. It's not up yet. I've been checking because I wanted to watch it.
Solidified for second place.
Yeah, they are. They've clinched second place.
And they're going to get a home playoff game.
They're going to have a home playoff game.
Maybe two.
At least one. The way the NWHL has switched back to high seed gets home playoff game.
Which is good.
Which is good for Buffalo this year. Last year, with the issues with finances and all that, and then rushing the end of the season for the U.S. women's national team and all that stuff, they kind of just compiled all the games together, sent them all east, and then did it all in a weekend, which ended up working out just fine for Buffalo. But this will be the first home playoff game in franchise history in 3 years, including a season in which they won the championship. So
it's a big deal. It's a
middle
very
of
big
March,
deal.
they're going to have a home playoff game. Time is not official yet, but they'll be announcing it soon. Connecticut can catch them and tie them in points if Buffalo loses out and Connecticut wins out, but they already have head-to-head against Connecticut, so it's no matter what happens this season.
And is it going to be Connecticut or Boston? Is that still TBD?
It's really close between those two. That could easily go either way.
One team you'd rather see, or I mean, I know every game with Connecticut seems to have been a war this year.
Yeah, I guess I would rather. I guess I would rather see Boston. I don't know. I feel weird saying that because of how Boston was the first two seasons.
Yeah.
I guess it depends too on. There's the big onus of what happens when the Olympics are over,
right?
Because if even half of those former Boston players who are playing in Pyeongchang want to come back and play in the NWHL, that team suddenly becomes a juggernaut.
Yeah, it's really weird how like the market could be flooded in 3 weeks with all these players coming back, and they're going to need places to play.
So I don't know, and the league's always been kind of ambivalent. I know they're not in a space where they want to be turning away top-level talent and trying to balance that with the stability of the league and the season the Riveters have been having with their talent. I mean, they're really only missing Amanda Kessel, and like I know it's like only missing Amanda Kessel, who's arguably one of the best hockey players in the world. But
that is an intriguing problem, though, because it kind of, if you did send all of these Olympians back to wherever they may end up, it kind of compromises the integrity of what these players have gone through for the first few months of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I understand, like you said, would any league be in a position if there was all of a sudden this influx of talent available to turn them away? And that's really at any level in any sport. I don't think that most would, but it does present an interesting conundrum for the league. And like you said, they haven't commented on it because they haven't had to deal with it yet. But all of a sudden, if Boston becomes, 2016, 2017 Boston,
yeah,
that's very interesting to me.
I mean, if Hillary Knight and Megan Duggan come knocking on the Boston Pride door in a couple weeks, that is a drastic shift, and it'll be interesting to see how many of those women want to return to hockey.
No, they may just need a month off or whatever too. Yeah.
They'll all come back. They won't be this year. They'll probably come next year for sure.
Well, sure, and I'm fine with it next year.
Which will make free agency for next year quite a thing. And Justin, something you mentioned to me the other day when we were talking after the Beauts game. Now Buffalo has the first professional women's hockey team in the NWHL to be purchased by an ownership group. They have the Pagulas, they have owners, and theoretically they have stability.
They're owned by one of the richest owners in the NFL.
So does that mean that now Buffalo is a top-level women's hockey destination?
It's an attractive landing spot.
Do the Megan Bozaks, Alex Carpenters of the world who went to the C-Dub last couple weeks after they got cut from the U.S. team, does Megan Duggan, Hillary Knight, Amanda Kessel, that next generation of top-level women's talent who are looking for a landing spot in pro hockey, is it now, well, maybe I should go talk to Buffalo? Because out of all the teams, and I know there's that Riveters-Devils partnership, which is very much in a promotional sense, at least to this stage, as far as we can tell. It doesn't seem to be a lot of financial backing other than just, hey, we promote the Riveters and they got to play Prudential Center, which is awesome. Don't get me wrong.
I was talking to one of the a team, what worker was a team, someone inside of the team, and they said, obviously we can't pay him anymore because of salary cap restrictions, but there are other perks and stability and things like that that they can definitely.
Advertising, big fan turnouts, the training facilities they have access to now. The Beauts are training and playing on the same ice and rinks that the Sabres do up till game time. They get the same treatment that the men who play across the street do. And that is realistically what equality in sports is. They want the women and the men to be given equal footing. And I mean, the chances for them to have a game at least at KeyBank Center next year, you would think, are rather significant.
Too, if something stupid happens with the league, like something this league happens to somehow fold, and something dumb happens, they can't survive. The Bagul's still on the team, and there's a league right across the border that they can still play in and get paid.
Yeah, I think.
I mean, it's I just say what all
Beauts
I'm saying
are
is
incredibly stable at this
the
point.
Beauts are an attractive landing spot, and you'll see some big names coming here next season. I think.
Border town.
Yeah, then they do definitely have the dead drop on all the Ontarian residents, which helped them a lot last season. I feel like it's players like Bozak who reside up there, Levier, the starting goaltender. They had the Pittsburgh market a little bit with McLaughlin and Stedman, and now we'll see having the Buffalo, GTA, Pittsburgh, and northern Pennsylvania area plus the Pagulas. It's probably the best landing spot, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out in free agency, which is now going to be flooded with 25 to 30 of the top women's hockey players in the world all re-entering the market at the same time.
And is it possible that not just the Canadian and the American teams, but some of the other Olympians too could potentially, as the world's markets kind of get closer, at least in terms of the Asian and the European countries, their players, we could see some influx of talent from those.
Yeah, it's happened a little in a very much in a passing way. There was a Russian national player who played with the Riveters for the first season, and I know Finland and the Scandinavian countries who are in general in hockey seem to be a little bit ahead of the rest of their European counterparts. Aren't maybe not quite there, but they're getting there to the point where they're at least competitive in games like that. Yeah, you certainly, and especially as the league continues to grow, which you figure at this point it's trending in that direction, you could certainly see more international talent coming into the league also as they continue to grow, add new players, feasibly add a fifth and sixth team in the next couple of years and go from there. It's certainly, you're getting in on the ground floor now of something that is progressing towards stability.
Yeah, I do think too that they have to go with 6 teams at this point. I think they have to add 2.
You can't add 30. You can't add 30 top-notch players to a league and keep the same number of teams when the quality of players also coming up is improving markedly every year.
Right. You would think that either Pittsburgh, Minneapolis, probably one of those, those are obviously the leading markets given the additional activity that has happened in those two cities.
There'll definitely be at least one new team next year, and with all the players come back, there's going to be talent to build teams and players moving up into the league. Also,
are there any chances of rosters expanding? I know that the NLL did that in response to a couple of teams folding.
I don't think the roster. I think they're pretty good where they at. I think the rosters are in a pretty good sweet spot for the league. Honestly,
they could add a player or two. If
Nothing
that even makes a difference.
though.
I don't think anything significant at this point. Salary cap's probably going to be very similar, but I mean, this has been the best year in terms of quality of play in the league. All four teams, this is the closest in terms of first to fourth, and all teams being deep that the league has been, and that's with taking a lot of these international talents out. I think they could easily field a good fifth team and a good sixth team just with the players that are coming back and a couple other local players. And it's not just that. Now it's the women who are graduating from college and coming into the league now get to go right to the pros. And Erica talked to Coach Rick Sealing about that. Is like every year the difference between the player that we keep and the player we cut gets closer, and it gets harder and harder to make the league because the next group of talent is better than the group of talent 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And the group of talent after them is better than that.
It's really impressive, the growth in terms of the talent that they've been able to grow in just a span of 3 years. Finally giving, like you said previously, college players finally have a place to go right out of school. That's helping immensely. And the best players in the world will be coming home at some point.
A couple other big Buffalo sports wins this weekend on top of that. Quick shout-out to our friends and coworkers at UB Men's Hockey. Justin and I get to do some work with them on the side, and they clinched their conference championship on Saturday rather emphatically with a 12-1 win at home against St. Bonaventure. They are 10-0 in conference, and they will be going to the Division I Men's ACHA National Championships in 3 weeks, regardless of the outcome of their remaining 3 games. They have had a great season, especially a latter half. They have been running away with it. They beat Niagara Canisius and Bonnie's in 6 days, and that is a good way to seal up your conference championship right there.
You wonder when eventually UB is going to go Division I. It seems like it's
need the
bizarre that
facilities.
they don't have great facilities. Although Northtown would be fine.
Well, there's an attendance capacity they have to be able to meet. That the current setup of feature at Northtown Center does not meet. I forget what the number is exactly, but it's a requirement of the NCAA rules of Division I hockey. You have to be able to seat X amount of people. Now, would Northtown Center entertain expanding that rink? Would you be entertained playing at Harbor Center or XYZ solution? Maybe. The other issue that I've talked about, and I don't know how true this is, I haven't really investigated it, is with Title IX, there has to be an equivalent amount of spending on men's and women's sports.
Right.
If they add another Division I program, they would have to also expand on the women's side when they're already cutting sports on both sides. So it doesn't seem to be in line with the mantra of the university at this time either.
It's surprising since both of the previous athletic directors at UB have gone on to respectively Central Florida and Auburn. So it's like, it is weird that they were in a bit of a cutting mode, but also trying to improve facilities. They were trying to kind of do it both ways. And then, the huge controversy, the baseball team being cut after 2 years. It's weird now being at Northtown Center like I am every weekend. Just seeing that vacant facility over there, wondering what they'll eventually do with it. It is surprising, though, because honestly, although it's completely different shape, the capacity of Northtown Center's feature rink isn't that much lower than Harbor Center. I don't believe. Maybe it's I don't feel like it's 500. Maybe I know. I understand the one end doesn't have any seating in it, and there's obviously logistical issues with it. But I think UB deserves
I think they do.
Division I hockey program.
There's kids on that team and a coaching staff on that team that
Men and
wants
women, by the way.
to push it to the top limit.
Yeah.
And it's been impressive since Jeremy took over that team, how he has turned it around. Got a good group of young kids who have become leaders of this team. Now in their senior seasons, a lot of them just really turning it on. And you could tell in warm-ups on Saturday they wanted it. They had 4 games to clinch. They didn't want to wait a period. They wanted that, and they are going to be tough to deal with. they've gone on the road and played some really top-ranked teams very tough this season. They're going to be a tough matchup for whoever they play in Nationals. On top of that, the Buffalo Bandits, who traditionally have a ton of difficulty going on the road and playing the Rochester Nighthawks, kind of got over that. 16-14 win on Saturday at Rochester. Something you don't get to see too often as a traveling Bandits fan to a few of those games. But, Steve, really a big win for a Bandits team that got really just decimated in that building earlier this season. Looks like they may have turned a corner in terms of their luck in that building.
It started out very similar. You looked at the scoreboard, it was 3-0 Rochester, but the Nighthawks' third goal was challenged and came off the board. And I'm not saying that was the momentum swing or anything like that, but the game felt a lot different from that point. 5-5 after the first, 8-8 at the half. Rochester goes up like 10-8, and the next thing you know, it's 15-10 Buffalo. They just controlled play for 8.5 minutes straight. At 15-10, with 5 minutes to go, having seen some crazy stuff happen in that building, I had no confidence of how the game was going to end. There was no feeling of Buffalo had it in the bag. Rochester gets a breakaway and scores. They get a second breakaway. One of them was Graham Hosick. Another one might have been Vitarelli. They scored. They get a third breakaway. Bouquet made the save. They get a fourth breakaway, and Bouquet made the save. And that really, Bouquet had a pretty strong game. He's kind of been a tale of Jekyll and Hyde this year, but he showed up when they needed him. And those two big saves late, I think, were key to the Bandits holding on for a win.
And now they come back to a back-and-back this weekend. Friday at New England, who they're just half a game behind.
Yeah,
so that's a huge
first
contest.
Place. And worth noting, too, for those that might not know, the Toronto Rock hosted the Calgary Roughnecks, and we're winning 7-5. Calgary had one win on the season, and Calgary received a 5-minute power play and scored twice. And the next thing you know, Calgary is up like 16-8 and ended up winning 16-8. So that was a big help for Buffalo with Toronto being so highly favored. They were going to be the unbeatable team and first in the East, and Buffalo got some help from an unlikely source and now are just half a game out of first place heading into a big weekend.
And then home Saturday, back-to-back Saturday home games for those of you out listening in Bandit Land. It's been a while. I feel like I know it's only been a month. It feels like so long when they go on these month breaks between home games that they go out and travel. They have a bye weekend there. So much has happened in the world of lacrosse, and we're going to touch base here with Josh Byrne of the Buffalo Bandits coming off a big game. Before we do, want to mention also there was a trade that was announced, I believe, today.
Yes.
Pat Saunders leaving the Bandits. He had been healthy scratched a couple games. We talked with Dane a couple weeks ago about him coming back and having a contribution with some injuries and some players shuffling around. But now he is headed out. Steve, you want to talk a little about what they're getting back in?
Yeah, I talked to Bandits GM Steve Dietrich today, and he said it was a coaching decision to run with three lefties, and with Mitch Jones playing the way he has been, Josh Byrne playing the way he has been, and Jordan Durston playing the way he's been. It just wasn't going to be a fit for Pat, and it's tough because he's such a good goal scorer, and last year he was a big contributor. Buffalo just traded for him, always was a big contributor wherever he played, whether it was in New England or Buffalo or Philadelphia. He was a big time goal scorer in this league, and he just went cold. And you hate to see it because you know what a guy can do, but when he doesn't do it, even the Saskatchewan game, he didn't score other than that overtime winner. And so he gets pulled right back out of the lineup. And I think he was a healthy scratch 4 of the 7 games so far. So you have to hope for him that this is a fresh start. Likewise, Thomas Hogarth has not been contributing with Vancouver, has not been playing. He's been scratched. And Chugger mentioned the idea of him being a guy that they stick with going forward with the expansion draft coming, that he's a young guy that they might consider protecting. He's only been in the league for 3 years. If he could pan out, he could be... I'm putting words in his mouth. He did not say that they would consider protecting him. They just said with the expansion draft coming, having him on the back end as another player could help them going forward.
Right, depth, especially if you're looking at maybe losing one of those defenders, whoever it may be in the upcoming expansion draft. Always good to have more than you need.
Yep. Zach Herwire slides in as the depth lefty now. Lefty forward. He'll be the guy that will slide in if they have an injury or have a need for a fourth lefty.
So happy to be joined tonight. Coming up on the line with us next year, Bandits forward Josh Byrne.
Here we are back in the 716 Sports Podcast. We're joined by another guest today. Josh Byrne is on the show, Bandits forward, who had quite a nice game for himself in a big win in Rochester on Saturday. Josh, first and foremost, congrats on a big win in Las Vegas.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
So quite a breakout game for you. It seems like things are getting more and more comfortable for you guys on offense and for you in particular. How are you feeling after game 7 versus maybe game 1?
I'd feel just not as nervous, I'd say. The first couple of games, you kind of feel your way into the league and get used to the speed. So finally kind of catch up a little bit.
I know you told me on Saturday that the coaching staff has asked you to kind of go to the net more to make that more of a priority of your game. We sure saw that. There were a couple times that you were able to knife through, I'm sure with some help from your guys around you, setting good picks and stuff like that. But Coach Cordingley said you scored 3 goals on Saturday that had him shaking his head because you were just able to drive hard to the net and finish.
Yeah, I mean, obviously with offense we have guys like Dane Smith, Crawford, Jones, Thurston. I'm kind of the last on the watch for the defense, so when I get my chance, I'm definitely going to take advantage of it.
I know we talked before, Buffalo's always had a hard time winning in Rochester. It just seems to be a strange building where crazy things happen. And you know, if Buffalo plays Rochester 5 times in Buffalo, I feel confident that they'll do pretty well. But it seems like in Rochester, things are just different. And having already lost there once in a pretty big rout, it had to feel a little special because it's a division rival, because of the I-90 rivalry, but also getting a win in a barn that hasn't traditionally been too nice to you guys.
Yeah, no, it was very good to be part of that. We felt good. We felt comfortable. We knew we just had to play our game, and they obviously play really well in their own barn, right? They pack it in real well. They got a lot of big defenders, kind of like to get in shot lanes. So to get a win in their barn is definitely a big thing for us.
Josh, you mentioned the difference between Game 7 and Game 1 in terms of your nerves. What has been key for you in terms of getting yourself into that mindset of week-to-week NLL action where you are coming into your own, playing with more confidence, more aggressiveness as you've gone on throughout the season?
I'd say just the players around me just always give me confidence, like always just saying, hey, keep going, keep trying things, keep shooting the ball. They've definitely helped me kind of sink in and be comfortable. And yeah, especially Dane Smith, my roommate, he's always just kind of in my ear saying like, hey, keep going, man, like you're good, like give me confidence. So yeah, it's definitely nice to have.
It kind of got the feeling just reading about, especially after the first game in Rochester this season, that you guys were really the underdogs going back in there on Saturday. Is that something you guys really embrace and kind of use that to fuel you as you go into a game like that?
I don't know if the underdogs is the right word, but anytime you get embarrassed like that in another opponent's rink, you kind of have a chip on your shoulder and you go in there with something to prove, right? So for us, we just wanted to really prove that we can play with those guys, and I think we did that.
And here we are looking at the standings. You guys just a half game back in New England, and you're heading there Friday now. It's game 1 of a back-to-back this weekend. I think you guys have had one other back-to-back this year. But it's interesting because the travel situation to New England is always a bit tumultuous, because if you fly, then you need to like take a horse-drawn carriage and then ride tandem bicycles, because getting to Uncasville is not easy. So I don't know, are you guys just taking a bus out? What's the plan for travel? And obviously a big one Friday night.
Yeah, I believe so. New England's I'm pretty sure taking the bus down there, but New England's a really good team, and Boldy's obviously a really good goalie. I've played with him a lot, or played against him a lot in the WLA there, so I know that he can definitely get hot, but we're going to go in there with a lot of confidence and try and take it to him as much as we can.
Now, you guys were coming in last week off of a bye week, and now you go this weekend into a back-to-back. As a player, what do you prefer? Do you prefer having like a long time to rest between games, or would you rather just get back in at it and be game ready, have that kind of quick turnaround?
Personally, I'd rather a little bit of a mix of both. So you'd have, I think ideally you'd like to have a game every week, right? Because sometimes when you go into those bye weeks, you have a little bit too much time to think about it, or if you're feeling confident, you're feeling hot, then kind of let yourself cool down, and that's not really what you want when you're feeling good. But back to back will definitely be interesting. I don't think we played a back to back yet, so it'll be interesting to see how my body kind of reacts to that, and the quick turnaround is going to be definitely a challenge, but we're going to battle through it.
And for those that haven't heard, I think it's been said that taking a bus to New England takes as long as a flight. By the time you, wait in the airport, board the plane, fly, land, get onto a bus, and drive almost an hour. I believe the reason that the team takes a bus is because it's faster.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's what we're doing. We're gonna bus down there. And hopefully, we can get some sleep on the bus on the way home. So,
and not to look too far ahead, but then you guys come back home, and this is the second time now you guys have gone like a month between home games, and obviously Bandit Land is where you guys always would want to play, and it seems like it's really strange to be home for one, gone, home for two a month later, gone for almost a month again. It's been a strange schedule in that sense, but it's got to be exciting. Without looking past New England, it's got to be exciting to know you come back home on Saturday.
Yeah, obviously, anytime you get a chance to play in front of Bandit Land, it's been special. I've only got to do it a couple times, and every time it keeps getting better. So definitely looking forward to the opportunity on Friday and then Saturday as well.
And some news coming out today that Pat Saunders moved out to Vancouver in exchange for Thomas Hogarth. Not sure how well you know Thomas, if you've had some cross-ups with him over in your experience in your career so far, but a big defender coming back. And unfortunately for Pat, he was a pretty key player for this team last year, but just an instance of maybe being a little bit snake-bitten, ended up on the outside looking in with you three lefties, performing well. So a little bit of a change of pace, and Thomas Hogarth coming in.
Yeah, it really is too bad watching Patty leave. I roomed with him a couple times, and he was a really good guy, and he definitely knew how to put the ball in the net too. So I mean, to see him leave, it definitely sucks. But I know I've seen Thomas play a little bit back in, I think it was junior. He played for Orangeville, and he lit it up. He was really good. And then watched him play a little bit in the Man Cup as well this year when he was out in the West. Playing for Peterborough there, and he's a really good player, really good talented player. So I reached out to him today, gave him a text, let him so come to see him play and come to Bandit Land. So he seems like he's pretty excited as well. So I think it's gonna be a good fit.
Andrew Suter said he's excited to have Pat back to carry his bags because apparently that was the thing in Minnesota.
Really?
Hey, last question that I have. Jeff may have another one. This might be the most important one. Last question then is, what are your opinions, and be honest, on the results of last night's Super Bowl?
The Super Bowl.
Step carefully.
I really wanted to see Philly win. To be honest, I got a couple boys from Philly back at Hofstra that were pretty big Birds fans, and to see them pull it off was pretty good. It was nice. Plus, I'm a big underdog fan, so.
I think we have another friend of the show, Dane
Perfect.
Smith. Yeah, last week Dane said that he was not about Tom Brady winning again, and he became a friend of the show. So I think that Josh Byrne just became a friend of the 716 Sports
It's
Podcast.
a big step to becoming a Buffalo athlete.
Yeah, that was the only question.
Like
that was the only question they asked me when they brought me on the podcast. Like, do you like New England?
Not
and
do
I was
you
like,
write or know anything about sports. It's how do you feel about Tom Brady?
Right, and I was like, I don't like them, and they're like, you're in. So
Exactly.
you're in too. So, Josh, we appreciate the time. We know how busy you are with everything going on in the middle of the season. Appreciate you taking some time, both on Saturday to give me some time and some time to come on with us on the 716 Sports Podcast tonight. We appreciate it.
Of course, thank you guys. Always a pleasure.
Take care.
Take care.
That just about does it for this real smorgasbord of sports deliciousness.
It's a cornucopia of all things Buffalo.
I feel full and tired, like after Thanksgiving.
Get that tryptophan in your veins.
Football, it's all kind of there.
Hopefully our
Most of you
voices
probably
serve
are
us
asleep
up.
by this point of the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
It's late at night.
Shout outs to those of you that made it.
Insomnia for life.
Yep. It was a great time. Justin,
Hi.
thanks for having us in your home.
Mm-hmm.
I'm consistently the last one asleep and the first one up in my house. Bill, is that you too? Or
Absolutely, with a bullet.
No?
I'm in bed usually 12:31, and I'm up at. Well, no, I don't wake up first. That's
No,
not
I'm
true.
up before my wife and my daughter.
Oh yeah, I can't do that.
It's
Nah.
nothing against them. I'm the idiot that stays up till
Yeah.
1 a.m. and then sets
Right.
an alarm for 7. But
I do the same thing. That's me.
shut up.
Right, but you have a dog.
Yeah.
I got a dog.
Yep. That's a huge difference here in the
Justin
story. I think.
Justin has some Fallout to play.
Yeah,
It's kind of like having a kid.
It's my free time actually. I get up, play Xbox.
That's a
and
video game.
and it's quiet,
Mm-hmm.
and no one bothers me. It's great.
What's your favorite city in Ohio? Real quick, just off the cuff. It's Toledo, isn't it?
I gotta go Columbus.
There's a lot of great
Seabus.
cities in Ohio.
Going to Akron tomorrow.
Akron,
Home of there's a
stop by
basketball
the
player from
Arrowhead.
there.
Yeah.
Last time I was there was
Isn't J.R. Smith from there?
Yeah, I think so.
last time I was there was actually when Cleveland won the
professional
NBA.
basketball.
Larry
show.
O'Brien.
Just another city with a major championship before Buffalo.
I
and
didn't
I'm
realize. I thought they were Lake Erie at that point. That was a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Go Monsters. It was, yeah. And if you stop by the Akron campus, get to see the old rubber bowl.
Go Zips.
Zippy, the only primary mascot in the country, Division I, that's a female. There are other females, like Mrs. Wolf at North Carolina State. There's a female Gator. There's a female Bruin at UCLA. So that's what you're going to see, right?
You see some Akron Rubber Ducks spring ball.
That's right. Yeah. Go Tribe. Yeah. That just about wraps it up here. We have nothing else to say. Thank you to all of our guests tonight. Thank you to you for downloading, for streaming. Thank you to Grandstand Sports Network for providing us with the opportunity to feed our families. We make absolutely nothing off of this, so actually we're really in a way destroying our families by taking
thank you to
this
Grandstand
time
Sports for giving our
to do
families
this.
some time away from us to
Yeah, that's
relax
right.
and quiet.
Yeah.
Yep. Shout out to the Super Bowl. That was cool. Super Bowl. Sue me, Roger. Trying to think if there's anything else.
You thought this was a podcast.
The
but
big
really,
game.
This is just a Tide commercial.
Yeah, that's right. Gotcha. That's it. Twitter, 716 Sports Podcast. Facebook, 716 Sports Podcast. Someday we'll get a Snapchat, and we'll put filters on it, and we'll act like little doggies running around, and you'll all laugh, and Snapchat's stupid.
We're gonna let people behind the scenes like that.
We do have some grams.
Yeah.
Can blast the grams.
We'll blast some grams. We'll snap some chats. We'll twit some turs. I don't know what else.
That's our new name. We're the Twitters.
Yeah.
We twit some turs every week.
Yeah, put that on a t-shirt and sell it for $500. All right. Good night.
Peace.